higher the rank. Nice to meet you. I pressed out and extended a hand to greet her. Einstein said, I began. Orders for idiots, but only a genius. I'm well aware of the quote, Exterminator 7D11087. How?
TikTok, videos, music, and live. Install it now.
This all felt strange, but my hazy mind couldn't put things together. It was I realized I might have been a bit too thorough. Oh, you gotta be... I cursed. I reached for the bottle of the anti-flame contraption, but in my panic I'd used up most of it inside the nest. What remained wasn't enough to... expected, they already knew. This C-Class had killed 7 people. Damn word. The gun was in my hand, but when I saw the rhino charging forward, I knew it wouldn't do a damn thing. It crashed against the wall of the enclosure. Stone and concrete exploded outwards. Alright, not good at all. I screamed as I ran. Shit, I didn't have long. With each passing moment, it got closer. Finally, my hand closed around a small piece of metal. Here you are, I thought before I threw the grenade behind me, right into the path of the symbiotic abomination. The thundering explosion threw me from my feet. I tumbled forward and came to a stop half a meter ahead. When I turned around, I saw nothing but giant chunks of meat. The beast had been obliterated, and I knew the parasite with it. That's what you get, that's what you fucking get, I screamed at the remains beside me. I turned to look at Sandra, who stared at me open-mouthed. Told you I'd get the job done, I said with a grin on my face. At that, the look on her face changed from disbelief to anger, and then to outright rage. You think that's getting the job done? First, look at the destruction you caused. Second, that rhinoceros wouldn't have been infected if you'd handled the extermination with proper diligence. Why didn't you focus on identifying and exterminating the main host right from the start? The hell? You're yelling at me right after I saved your sorry ass? No thanks for saving you, nothing at all? That thing would have torn you to pieces if not for me. She didn't like me mouthing off. As she tore me a new one, screaming and belittling me like I was an utter idiot, my thoughts drifted off to a better time. A time when I was working on my own. Fuck monsters and fuck this bitch. Let me reiterate my words. Fuck this bitch. With bitch, I mean Sandra, obviously. After we'd made our way back, and she'd had enough of belittling me, she got right back into contact with headquarters. Wouldn't you know it, she told them all about my reckless and less than stellar performance. Her words, not mine. Once that was done, she started on the preparations for the move to the new apartment. I've got no idea how she scored this place so quickly, but I guess money isn't an objective for headquarters. At least when higher-ranking personnel is involved. This new place was massive compared to the cramped little shithole I used to live in. Still, I missed the place. The move was exhaustive, not only because Sandra arranged the entire thing in her usual manner, which meant she acted like a massive bitch. No, she made me do all the heavy lifting because of one fucking joke, calling it our lover's nest. Tell you what, I'm done for the day. Sandra's still busy talking to headquarters and setting up all that fancy computer and infrastructure shit she said we'd need. I couldn't give a single fuck about any of it, but at least she wasn't getting on my nerves, at least for a while. As I mentioned, I hate parasite types. Yesterday we were lucky enough, and the fucker only infested animals. When they infest humans, though, things can get real ugly real fast, especially when kids are involved. I don't like to talk about that day 2 years ago, but after yesterday, the memory's fresh again, and it's eating away at me. To say things got out of hand would be an understatement. It's been the worst fucking day on the job. Hell, things got so bad, I'm lucky my employment wasn't terminated. You can guess what termination would mean. The day started off as business as usual. I got a call. I was informed it was a parasite type, and the signature was transferred. While the size of a cluster and the number of subhosts an organism can create is limited, every subhost still means one more dead person. Here's the worst thing about parasite types, though. The change to the hosts isn't often visible. A person might look and act entirely normal while their brains are slowly being devoured and the insides of their bodies are being transformed. At the zoo, we were lucky enough for the parasite to attack us right away. Yes, it wasn't one of the smart ones. They often hide their presence and try their best to infect as many subhosts as possible while staying undetected. I've got some specialized equipment for that, of course, such as a specialized scanner or alchemic contraptions to reveal and end an infestation. When I saw that the signature was located in the center of a residential district, I cursed to myself. If I was lucky, it was nothing but a pet. If I wasn't, I might look at a whole damn family. I went out with my usual equipment. A gun, protective armor, a handful of grenades I hopefully wouldn't need, and a few gadgets and contraptions to identify the host and any sub-host it had created. Once I was at the signature's location, I knew I was in a lot of fucking shit. I rechecked the signature data twice, hit the close-range scanner, but there was no doubt. It was a freaking daycare. I called headquarters right away and asked for confirmation on the signal. It didn't take them more than a minute to give me a positive. I told them what I discovered, but they were cold as usual. The location meant lots of potential hosts in one place, and I'd have to hurry for the infestation not to spread, if it hadn't already. Take care of the signature ASAP. Exterminator 7D11087. We will handle the rest. After the connection had been cut, I stood there, not even sure how to go about this. There were freaking kids in there. Finally, I went to the front door and rang the bell. The woman who appeared eyed me suspiciously right away. I guess I didn't look like a parent. No, I most likely looked like the picture-perfect example of someone who was up to questionable things. In as few words as possible, I rambled on that there was a need to check the isolations in the boiler, but I had about that, though. Instead, I took out the parasite scanner again and scanned the kids one by one. The goal was easy enough. Find the infested kid, grab it, rush from the room, and exterminate the parasite as quickly as possible. Once it was over, I'd hit up headquarters and get the hell out of here. All I hoped for was that fucker hadn't created a cluster yet. No, I prayed it hadn't. The parasite scanner felt heavy in my sweat-covered hands. I was on edge the entire time, and I could tell the caretakers were as well. They had no clue what I was doing, but they sure as hell didn't like it. Worst, however, were the kids. They might not understand what was going on, but they knew something was wrong. I couldn't wait for this to be over. Just when I was about to scan a little girl, one of the kids screamed up. His arms and legs shook, his muscles twitched, and a second later I was sure I'd found the host. My God, Marcus, what's going on? One of the women called out and rushed over for the little boy. Without another word, I pushed her aside and restrained the boy. Then I got out an alchemic contraption and poured it down his throat. It would scramble up his insides, cook the damn parasite up, and make it abandon its host. It wasn't how I wanted things to go. This was nothing but nasty. But I didn't have any other choice. The second a parasite revealed itself, it knew it was in danger, and would do anything to infest as many subhosts as possible. As the contraption took effect, the boy's body convulsed in my arms. Bloody froth foamed at his mouth, and I waited for the thing to abandon its hosts. My hands were closed around the gun in my pocket, but none of that happened. The boy's body went limp, but no parasite showed up. Oh, shit. Fucking goddamn shit. One of the women was right by my side, screaming and tearing at the boy's body to get him away from me, but I didn't give her any attention. That little boy had been a sub-host. Nothing but another puppet the real parasite controlled. By now, the entire room was in a state of sheer and utter panic. The kids were screaming and retreated to the back of the room, huddling behind whatever furniture they could find. All of them except for the little girl from before. She showed almost no emotions. She went through her movements mechanically, It was clear she tried to copy the behavior she saw all around her. At that moment, I knew I'd found the real host. The gun was out, and as I pointed at her, her eyes met mine. They were empty and inhuman. "What are you trying to do, mister?" the thing asked in its best imitation of the shaky voice of a little girl. Ending this, I spat, but when I was about to pull the trigger, one of the caretakers was upon me. The gun clattered from my hands as she tried her best to get on top of me. "Don't you dare! Don't you dare!" she screamed. It took me a single moment to restrain her, but that was all the time the thing in front of me needed. The girl's arms were up in the air. Her hands were spread apart. The muscles in her body twitched and contorted themselves, and a net of tendons pushed out from her hands. "The gun! Where's the fucking gun?" In a panic, my eyes darted around, only to find it in the hands of the other woman. She was clutching onto it, but her eyes were glued to the horrible abomination that had once been a little girl. I rushed her, tried to tear the gun from her hands, but she was frozen in shock. With a second thought, I knocked her out. The hands holding the gun went limp as she keeled over. These few moments, however, they'd been enough. They'd been more than fucking enough, I realized. By now, the parasite had gotten hold of half the kids in the room. Some were on the floor, shaking. Others were still being infested by the thick, long tendons that pushed their way out into their mouths and down their throats. The rest were still hiding and rocking back and forth in terror. The woman I'd restrained before was out of it and stumbled toward the little girl.